Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are well and I welcome you all again to my classes, and in today's class we are going to cover a chapter of your English book, and the chapter is very interesting. It's about a trip. The chapter name is A Trip to Kashmir. And why it is very special? Kashmir. Kashmir is a place in India which is also known as the heaven on the earth. It is known for its beauty, its culture, various kind of lakes and boats, houseboats in the Kashmir. Okay, so let's see how the story is. But before going to the details of the story, I would like to give you a small summary. This story is about a girl named Shreya and her family exciting summer vacation in the beautiful region of the Kashmir. So this story includes a girl named Shreya, her family and their vacation, summer vacation in the Kashmir of India. Okay, what they do? They explore Srinagar. They visit famous gardens. Kashmir is also famous for various gardens, tea gardens. Okay, and also they take a ride in Dal Lake. Dal Lake is the famous lake of Kashmir in which houseboats are there, which are known by a special name, and that name is Shikara. What is the name of houseboat? Shikara, yes. And also they explore famous places like Falgam, Gulmarg and engage in various activities. While appreciating the scenic beauty and culture of Kashmir, this story also showcases their experience and leaves them with a desire to explore the region more in the future. So Kashmir was very beautiful, Kashmir is very beautiful, and in their vacation where they explored so many things in the Kashmir like the Pahalgam and other ventures, explored the Dal Lake, houseboat Shikara, but also that scenic beauty of Kashmir just leave them of thinking that we can come here again and explore more of Kashmir. Okay, so now we will be going ahead in the story. Okay, so let's start the story. Shreya tapped her foot as she watched the clock tick-tock away until it finally struck to 2. What does this line say? What happens sometimes when we are so excited about something, we are waiting, okay, for that thing to happen. Every minute we keep a count on, and exactly in that manner, Shreya is tapping her foot as she watched the clock tick-tock away until it finally struck 2 o'clock. Why 2 o'clock is very special for Shreya? Let's see here. The school bell rang and all the students in her class packed up their bags and rushed out of the classroom. Why? Because it was the ring of the school over. Yes. So the school bell rang and all the students in the class packed up to their bags and rushed out of the classroom. Shreya followed them, watching everyone around her. It was very exciting as it was the last day of her class. Her school had closed down for the summer vacation. This all must have happened with all of you as well. In the very last day of our school, before summer vacation, we used to so excited. We wait for that time like, oh, this is the last day, then we'll go to home, plan something and go out for our vacations, right? She was eagerly waiting to go on a trip to Srinagar for a holiday. She was already planned on this trip and she was very excited. For what? For going to Kashmir. So when she reached home, her mother was busy in packing because they have to leave for the Kashmir. So her mother was busy in packing. They were leaving for Srinagar the next day because they have to leave for Srinagar the very next day when the vacations are going to be start. Okay. Shreya was very excited and she had never been there before. When you go to a place very first time, the excitement is of very different level. So Shreya was very much excited. They were leaving for Srinagar the very next day, and she had never been there before. Shreya and her family boarded the plane. What they did? They boarded the plane from Delhi to for the Kashmir the very next morning. So what was the medium Shreya and her family used for reaching Kashmir? They boarded plane. Yes. Let's go to the next chapter. So it is now the journey part of Shreya and her family. Shreya was sitting in the plane waiting for the first view of snow. Since Kashmir is a region of snowfall, Shreya was excitedly waiting for the snow. Her little brother, Mitesh, what is the name of the little brother of Shreya? Mitesh had occupied the only window seat that they got. Shreya didn't got the window seat because the window seat has been occupied by Mitesh. But luckily, a man offered Shreya his window seat. Just a second. Yes, so what happened? But Shreya was lucky enough. Why? Because even though her brother occupied the only window seat they got, but Shreya got a window seat by a man who offered his seat to Shreya. Maybe because she jumped all over the place trying to get a good look of what lay beneath. What happens sometimes when you didn't get window seat, you try to peep out from every corner possible to have a view of the outside, and considering this, noticing this, a man offered the seat to Shreya. Shreya was thrilled to see the clouds. Shreya was thrilled. There is an excitement to see something which we have never ever had a view of, right? Soon the scenery changed from white to green. The scenery changed from white to green. What does it mean? That is, they were getting close to Srinagar. Now they were getting close to Srinagar. That's why the scenario outside is becoming green. There were endless green meadows speckled with small flowers. Srinagar is a very beautiful place. So what she could spot, endless green meadows speckled with small flowers. Okay. After some time, the plane landed Srinagar. So finally, the Shreya and her family has reached their destination, Srinagar. Shreya and her family could feel the chill in the air. Srinagar is an area in the north of the India that is mostly chill. There chilly winds blow throughout the air. So what they have felt, even though it is a summer vacation, but in the region of Kashmir and Srinagar, Shreya and her family could feel the chill in the air. The airport was heavily guarded and guards were watchful. Let's see this. The airport was heavily guarded. The airport was heavily guarded and the guards were watchful, noticing each one of the passengers. Whenever we go to an airport, before taking entry or getting out of the airport, we have to go through a system of security check. Guards keep a watch of every passenger, what we are carrying, right? So in the same manner, it was guarded and guards were watchful and noticing each one of the passenger as they entered. They hired a taxi and were soon on their way to hotel. So after getting out of the airport, they took a taxi and they were heading toward their hotel. Yes. Shreya and Mitesh saw some beautiful trees as their taxi moved ahead. And then Shreya said to her father. Pay attention what she said. Which trees are these? She was asking about the trees which she and her brother Mitesh watched during the journey. Okay. Daddy, Rajesh Jain, her father, said they are chinar trees. So, which trees were those? Those were chinar trees. They are one of the main tree of the Kashmir Valley. So, in every region, there are specific flora and fauna of that place. So, the famous tree of Kashmir region is chinar tree. They are of one of the main trees of the Kashmir Valley along with the pine and deodar tree. So, other than the chinar tree, what were the main trees found in the Kashmir region? Deodar and pine trees. Remember the name? Chinar trees, deodar and pine trees. Yes. During the autumn season, chinar trees are famous for changing the color of their leaves. So what is the special thing about the chinar trees? In the autumn season, in the autumn time, the tree changes the color of its leaves, which make it more beautiful. Okay? As they moved, they saw houses made of wood with sloped roof. Pay attention. They saw houses made of wood with sloped roof. Okay? The houses were very huge with at least 2 floors. Houses were huge with 2 floors, but the houses had sloped roof. We will see what was the reason for this. They also saw many army men everywhere. So what was the other thing? Even the airport was highly guarded, and even on the roads, in the journey, they found a lot of army men. Okay? It was 2 p.m. by the time Shreya's family settled down in the hotel. So finally, after the plane, after the airport and the roads, they finally entered to their hotel by 2 p.m. Yes. They set out for a tour. They set out for a tour of very famous Dal Lake that evening. So the first spot Shreya and her family covered was Dal Lake on the very first evening of them reaching Kashmir. Shreya pulled her father's sleeve and said, "Look, such a beautiful lake." Shreya was never spotted a beautiful lake like this earlier. She felt very excited and just exclaimed to her father, "Wow, such a beautiful lake." Mr. Rajesh said, "Children, this is the Dal Lake." So now Shreya's father is explaining to their children, this is the Dal Lake. It has a surface area of 18 square kilometers. So now Shreya's father is explaining everything about the Dal Lake. It has an area of 18 square kilometers. It is set in one of the most wonderful surrounding with this sprawling city on one side and flanked by giant mountains on the other 3 sides. So there are few remarks given in the story about the Kashmir, how beautiful it is and how beautifully it is designed. Okay, just revise it once so that we'll be remembering this. Mr. Rajesh said, "Children, this is the Dal Lake and it has a surface area of 18 square kilometers. It is set in one of the most wonderful surroundings with the sprawling city on one side and flanked by giant mountains on the 3 other sides." So Dal Lake has one side sprawling cities and the other 3 sides it was surrounded by the very giant mountains. Okay, that's indeed a beautiful scenario in our mind. The wind started blowing very cold. Now since they reached the hotel at 2 p.m. it was already about to evening. Now the wind started blowing very cold. Mrs. Maya, their mother. So what was the name of the mother of Shreya? Mrs. Maya. Yes. Their mother remarked, "Children, let us go for a ride in the shikara." So now she remarked their children to go for a ride in the shikara. Shikara was the houseboat which is found in the Dal Lake. Shikara. Mitesh asked, Mother, what is shikara? So now Mitesh is curious about what is shikara. So the answer to this is shikara is a type of wooden boat. Shikara is a type of wooden boat which is the main mode of transportation in the lake. So in the Dal Lake, the mode of transportation is shikara boat, which is a wooden boat, said Mrs. Maya. So Mrs. Maya explained about the shikara to the children as they took the tour of Dal Lake in the brightly colored shikaras. They passed by a market floating on water. They passed by a market floating on water and pretty flowers growing in water. Shreya was surprised to see. What was the surprise? Shreya was surprised to see the floating market. Floating market. I'll show you in the picture, okay? Her mother said the people of the Srinagar had been living on the lake for many years. Remember this. People in the Srinagar have been living in the lake for many years with fishing or selling fruits, flowers, vegetables as their occupation. So the Dal Lake is not only just famous because Dal Lake has shikaras, but shikara is the mode of transportation and people are doing their occupation, selling flowers, vegetables and fishing, fruits, etc. for a very long period of time, and that's why the Dal also has a floating market, and that's excited Shreya. She has never witnessed something like that. Also, I am showing you a picture. Please have a look to that. Is this picture visible to you? Can you just see? This is the Dal Lake and people are using the boats to sell their items, like they have vegetables, fruits, fishing, everything, and this is the picture of a floating market. Okay kids? So now we are going ahead in the chapter. Let's see after the Dal Lake what Shreya and her family has explored. Now they passed through floating garden and families living in the wooden shack over the lake. Shreya and Mitesh said, now when they observed everything, Shreya and Mitesh said, these floating houses are really beautiful. What remark Shreya and Mitesh has given? These floating houses are really beautiful. Children, let me adjust this for you. Children, each of these houses has private gardens with a shikara parked in front of them instead of vehicle. Also another interesting point, in Kashmir, people don't own cars and everything, but what they own? They own a shikara in front of their house. Also, all the houses has a private garden with a shikara parked in front of them instead of vehicles, said their father. The father of Shreya must had also be aware about so many things of Kashmir which Shreya and her brother was not aware, because he is providing very detailed knowledge of everything they are witnessing, right? Mitesh smiled and said, I like it. The night was getting cold, so the family decided to return to the hotel. Mitesh and Shreya was liking everything about Kashmir, but now it was the evening time, the night is arriving, so they decided to return to the hotel. The next day they visited the two famous gardens of Srinagar. So the first day is over now, Shreya's vacations. Now the second day started with their journey to two famous gardens of Srinagar. the Shalimar Garden and the Nishad Garden. Remember the names, Shalimar Garden and Nishad Garden. As they settled down comfortably in the garden, their tourist guide said they have taken a tourist guide with them, so they will not be missing any spots or anything important to notice. These gardens, let's see what tourist guide is explaining about the garden. These gardens were designed by the Mughal emperors of India. So who designed those gardens? Mughal emperors of India. The lawns of these gardens are well maintained still from the very ancient time. The lawns of the garden are still well maintained. There are flowers of rare varieties. So the specialty of gardens were the gardens having flowers of rare varieties, rare that is not found everywhere. The trees are full of fruits. These gardens also have fountains of water which keep the atmosphere cool. So also the gardens holds the fountains of water which is keeping all the atmosphere cool. The cool water spring here is believed to be medicinal, and also the special thing is the cool water from the fountain is believed to be medicinal. Medicinal, that means it holds certain medicinal value that is good for everyone. It is said that the water of these springs, if taken regularly, can help in improving the health. A very remarkable statement. It is said that the water of these springs, if taken regularly, can help in improving the health. Shreya's family not only tasted the water of the spring but also some in their flask, because the water was medicinal. It was rare, it was not found everywhere. So what Shreya's family did? Shreya's family not only tasted the water but also brought some in their flask. Whatever flask they were carrying, they kept some water in the flask and carried it with them. Later in the day, so after the gardens, the Shalimar and the Nishad garden, they also visited Hazrat Bal shrine. They visited, the third spot of the day was Hazrat Bal shrine along the distant corner of the lake. In the corner of the lake, there was a place called Hazrat Bal shrine. Shreya and her family then went to Pahalgam. After the gardens, they went to Pahalgam and stayed in a tourist cottage there for a week. Oh, so this was interesting that after the hotel and visiting the Dal Lake, the next day they boarded for Pahalgam. Mrs. Maya said, Pahalgam is a nice camping ground for tourists. Mrs. Maya liked the Pahalgam and she gave a statement that Pahalgam is a nice camping ground for tourists. They spent their evening by the riverside. They spent the evening by the riverside, and in the morning they used to go on a stroll, on foot or ride a pony. So what they did in the morning? They used to go on a stroll, on foot or ride a pony. Okay, that's how they enjoyed their week in the Pahalgam. Next they visited Gulmarg, and after the Pahalgam they visited Gulmarg. Yes, Gulmarg is another place in the Kashmir, also very beautiful place. They saw beautiful landscape surrounded by high mountains, peak covered with snow. So finally the discussion of snow come here, right? Mountain peaks in the Gulmarg was covered with snow. Anjali's mother pointed toward the famous golf club and said, Anjali's mother pointed toward the famous golf club and said, Gulmarg attracts many foreign tourists with its variety of sports like golfing, trekking, mountain biking, horse riding, water skiing and fishing. So Gulmarg was a very good sports for the tourists. And what were the activities which tourists come and enjoy in the Gulmarg? The activities are enlisted here. We are going to pay attention to all the activities: golfing, trekking, mountain biking, horse riding, water skiing and fishing. The Gulmarg Golf Club is also located here and it is the highest green golf club in the world. So another important remark is the highest green golf club of the world is located in the Gulmarg, right? The best part about Kashmir and Gulmarg especially was that the highest green golf club was located in the Gulmarg. Shreya and Mitesh shouted, "Oh, this is Gulmarg Golf Club." So now they have listened so much about the golf club, so they were so excited. So what were the remarks they claimed? "Oh, this is Gulmarg Golf Club. Can we play here?" They were so excited. "No, dear." The children looked at it wide-eyed as they moved forward. Because they couldn't play there, they keep observing the golf club. The children looked at it wide-eyed as they moved forward. They also saw a few places of religious importance. The other thing they found were the places of religious importance near the resorts. And what were the places? Like Baba Reshi, Haji Murad at Kriri and Tangmarg. So these were the names which we have to remember. The religious places were Baba Reshi, Haji Murad and Kriri and Tangmarg. Okay. Shreya's father took a number of snaps of the beautiful places. So Shreya's father was excited also. So he took a number of snaps. We always, when we go somewhere in our vacations, what we do? We took snaps to make the memories, to keep ourselves reminding whenever we want to. Right? So let's see the next. Of the snow-covered mountains, Dal Lake, etc., Shreya said, "These snaps will remind us about the nice time spent in the valley of Kashmir." As I mentioned, so the memories, the snaps helps us to remember or remind the nice moments, the nice memory. So Shreya said that these snaps will remind us about the nice time spent in the valley of Kashmir and its beautiful scenery. So the Kashmir beauty makes the Kashmir seems like a beautiful scenery. They also did some shopping in the Kashmir. They went to the Polo View market. The market from which they did shopping was Polo View market. The market was laden with shops selling Pashmina's shawl. Pashmina shawl. There is a variety of wool which is very famous in the Kashmir is Pashmina. So the market was laden with shops selling Pashmina shawls, items like jamawars, wooden jewelry boxes and walnut carved items. So what were the item? Walnut carved item. We have to remember the name of all these items. Anjali bought a Pashmina shawl for her grandmother. So what they bought from the market? A Pashmina shawl for the grandmother. Her mother bought honey, saffron, fruits and a few woolen shawls. So the items they bought: honey, saffron, fruits and few woolen shawls. The next morning they all left for the airport, and finally after a long weekend, a long time in the Kashmir, the journey comes to end. The next morning they all left for the airport. The family returned to Delhi after spending 1 month in Kashmir. So the duration of the vacation was 1 whole month. Yes. Shreya and Mitesh said, "We will visit other places in Kashmir during the next trip." Still, the last remark made by Shreya and Mitesh is we will be covering or exploring the other places in Kashmir during our next trip. So still we can find, even in the end of the vacation, they are not very saturated with the view of Kashmir, because Kashmir is so beautiful. So it tells us, the end of the story tells us the scenic beauty of Kashmir is very refreshed in their mind, and they would like to enjoy more about the beauty. Kindly, we should just memorize this story at a go. Story starts with a girl, Shreya, who is excitedly waiting for her school to get over. She is waiting for the clock to strike 2 o'clock. After the school gets over, she rushed out for the home where her mother is already packing the things, because they have to leave for the Kashmir the very next morning. The next morning they boarded for the plane, and Shreya couldn't got the window seat earlier, but a man offered the window seat to Shreya. And then Shreya was visualizing the beauty of Kashmir, and finally when they landed in the Kashmir, they went to the hotel, and the very first day they explored the Dal Lake with Shikara. Her father explained a lot about the Dal Lake, its construction and the other sites, and also they explored the floating market of the place. The next day they went to explore the two gardens, the Shalimar Garden and the Nishad Garden, and then in the evening they went for exploring another places, and after that day they relieved for a place in the Kashmir called Pahalgam. They spent an entire week in the Pahalgam. After enjoying the beauty of Pahalgam, they moved for the Gulmarg, and in the Gulmarg they visited a lot of places, especially mentioned about the golf club, the highest golf club, the highest green golf club found in the Gulmarg. Also, the story has included various beauty of Gulmarg, why it is a very famous tourist place, the activities of the Gulmarg, and at the end the story mentions about the religious places of the Kashmir, the market of the Kashmir, and the story ends with the Shreya and her family buying things about for the grandmother and other people, and they came back by capturing all the beauty of Kashmir and cherishing the beauty in their mind and heart, and hoping that they will come again to the Kashmir and visit the places which are still not explored by them. I hope the story is clear to you. Okay, thank you.